What the heck just happened? Hey everybody, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust, back with another dose of economic reality. A lot to get into today. We've got numbers coming out with rents continuing to drop and decline, and not just overall, but in 28 major cities, rents decline. We're going to talk about why that's very significant and important here in just a moment, and it's going to be an indicator, canary in the coal mine, if you will, of what's headed for us here in the next few months. I shouldn't say in the next few months. It's here now. It's happening now. But what's going to happen here down the road with what we just witnessed? We've got a lot of other stories to get into. We've got a decline in economic activity. We're going to talk about what that means. Is it good? Is it bad? Doesn't matter. The budget, the spending, it just keeps going, folks. Budget deficits expanding, spending exploding, debt exploding nationally here. I've also got someone that found a creative way to protest getting evicted, and a story of another landlord who is owed $60,000 in back rent. Crazy stuff, folks. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about the housing market too, home prices, housing bubble, all that good stuff here. And let's begin right here. Asking rents are falling in 28 major metros. Why is that significant? Well, that's where most of the jobs are. And usually when you see prices go up, they're even more pronounced going up in the city areas because that's where most of the economic activity is. That's where most of the jobs are. So when prices are falling in major metro areas, that's definitely something to take note of. And it's going to be a predictor of what's happening here, what's going to be happening now on a broader scale, including in the housing market. We're talking about home prices, not just rents, but home prices. When rents start coming down, that's an indicator that people are strapped out, because rents, people aren't financing to pay their rent. They're not getting a mortgage to pay their rent. Rents is an indicator of how much people have from month to month, how much leftover cash they have left over, or how much just cash they have in general, because again, people aren't borrowing money to pay rent. Hopefully not, but 99.9% of people aren't borrowing money to pay rent. So it's an indicator of how well people are doing, or in this case, how not well people are doing, because the rents are being put on the market, the units, the houses, and they're dropping because people aren't renting them out. Vacancies are rising. We'll get into that. But first, here's some data here out of Redfin. The median asking rent dropped 1% year over year in May, as elevated apartment supply gave renters room to negotiate. Now, there's also been a little bit of a boom in building. We're going to see how long that lasts, though, because the tariffs and the effect of the cost on labor, the cost of materials. Asking rents fell the fastest in Austin, Texas, down 9%. We talked about that last month. Austin continues to lead the way. Let's see here. Rents did hit some record highs in some metros, though. But here we are, negative 1%. And this is the year-over-year change. If you're looking at this chart here on our screen, 28 of the 44 major areas that Redfin analyzed, rents decline. That's the highest number since September 2023. So not a crash, not anything to be shocked about, but it's definitely an indicator that consumers are getting tapped out. You also have a lot of things happening with the number of people, just in general, the population shifts happening right now, and lots of other things to keep an eye on, folks. So we're going to see some fireworks pop off, I think, very, very soon. Unfortunately, if they don't allow prices to correct, it's going to be more inflation. What they could do is they could put a floor under these costs, and they could stop prices from dropping. Unfortunately, we saw that happen in 2020, where they were trying to help people, but they ended up making the cost of living much, much higher. Well, we can't talk about rents unless we talk about evictions, and evictions are rising in many, many areas. And here's one man that actually protested getting evicted here. Let me bring up a picture, a bigger picture here. And he built a treehouse. He built a treehouse to protest the evictions, and there he is right there. It looks like he shops at Harbor Freight. He built a treehouse to protest eviction from state-owned residents. And it's kind of a weird one here. So this guy, 70-year-old, retired. He illegally seized a home 5 years ago after the owner, which is the Department of Transportation, left it vacant. He'd been allowed to stay for a few months, then was directed to this nearby home owned by the agency, but now it was time to go. So basically, he got a free place to live, and even though he got a free place to live, he's still protesting this. He had other plans. Over months, he'd sawed wooden 2x4s to use as a brace between the front door and the interior to make it harder to breach. How does he leave to go buy groceries? He bolted shut the metal screen door. Once Flores was satisfied he'd secured the entrance Tuesday, he retreated to a wooden structure he built 28 feet high in the ash tree in the backyard. Wow, that's pretty high, almost 28 feet. I plan to resist as long as I can, he said. He made this house, a tree house, 6 foot tall and 3 feet wide. Okay, so you can almost stand up in there if you're a grown adult, or you can stand up if you're a shorter person. Represents the last stand for Flores against the protest. It captured national attention back in 2020. Wow, so people getting by, not paying rent for years, but still they're going to protest when they're told to leave. Pretty interesting how some people feel like they don't have to pay anything, I guess. All right, and many people believe this. Housing should be free. Well, maybe if you build a tree house, it'll be free, but it depends on whose property the tree's on, who owns the tree. They might try to evict you from the tree house next there, buddy. So let me know what you think about that, folks. Pretty interesting, but there are people out there who think housing should be free. They think that no one should own the land, or you should be able to own the land and not have to pay anything. The way we have it now, you are called an owner of the land, but you still have to keep on paying to have the right to live there, right? So to have the privilege of living in a place that you, quote unquote, you own, right? So you know what I'm talking about. All right, moving on here, folks. Economic activity contracted in May as imports hit the lowest level since 2009. It doesn't mean a contraction in prices, though. The costs are still going up, albeit more slowly. So inflation has slowed, but it's still inflation. And anytime the word inflation is included in any report, we know that prices are still going up. That's the bottom line, folks. And remember, we were promised a lower cost of living. Things are going to get easier. Here we are now. Let's see, going on 5 months with this administration. And what are we seeing, folks? We're seeing things continue to get worse. Debt levels skyrocketing. Price levels still going up. Altogether, I mean, overall, there's a couple areas where prices are coming down, but overall, everything looked at, things are getting more expensive still, people. All right, moving on here, folks. Still on housing and rent here for just a minute. We got a landlord is owed $60,000 in unpaid rent. He tried eviction, but the nightmare has only gotten worse. How do you rack up $60,000 in late rent? Landlord says tenant owes $60,000, 3 years in unpaid rent. How do you not get somebody out in 3 years? A Brooklyn landlord owns a multi-level home, has been stuck with the same nightmare since 2001. An unnamed tenant has been giving him the runaround on paying, essentially squatting, racking up $60,000 in unpaid rent. I'm trying to do the right thing, trying to go through the right channels within the law, but getting no results. Well, you could almost want to take the law into your own hands, you know what I mean? Like, go in there and get them, but then you end up in bigger trouble. The legal process drags on. He's been forced to cover the mortgage out of pocket, leaving him with financial distress. Although he finally has a court date on the horizon, he's not hopeful. Yeah, check your state laws, folks, before you become a landlord, or maybe you already found out the hard way, if this happened to you, if you're a landlord. Being a landlord sounds easy on the surface. Oh, you're just going to sit back and collect rent. You don't have to do anything. Well, there's a lot of repairs, and I did rent out a place for a while, and it was a lot of unexpected expenses. And sometimes you think the tenant's not treating the property good, especially when things start breaking down rapidly. Because you live in a place and something might break down every, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year. But then all of a sudden you get a tenant, and things are breaking down every month. It's weird how that happens. But bottom line is, people don't treat a place that they rent as good as they treat a place that they own. So as a landlord, you've got to realize that, and hopefully still make money when it's done. Or you could get a complete deadbeat that's not going to pay the rent for years, and the state's not going to help you. The law's not going to help you, because they have, in some cases, non-paying tenants have more rights than landlords. But again, check your state's laws and eviction process before you become a landlord. It's strongly encouraged. All right, and also one consequence of budget cuts and less spending, less funding, less programs, including programs for housing, has stories like this here. San Francisco shelters send homeless people eviction notices, right? We talked about this a few months ago. This is actually a story from January. But that's also, I just want to remind people, this is also happening in case you missed that report. When spending is pulled back from different programs, a lot of people that are living basically off of these programs, these assistance programs, they're going to end up in big trouble. So we have food programs being cut, housing programs being cut, even the funding for these homeless shelters is being cut. So what's going to happen? They're probably going to raise taxes on everybody to pay for this. So now the working people that are actually doing something and doing the 9 to 5 or however, maybe more than 9 to 5, maybe 6 in the morning until 10 at night if you're working 2 or 3 jobs like a lot of people, you're going to be the one on the hook for paying for what the government's not paying for. Right? The scary part is we're told that spending is being cut back and we're stopping waste and fraud and abuse, but we still see debt exploding, debt skyrocketing, right? The national debt's not slowing down, folks. It's actually accelerating. So where are the cuts and what's happening? I mean, I'm starting not to believe, I shouldn't say starting, I haven't believed it for years, but I'm really starting not to believe anything that we're being told right now about these cuts and everything else, right? If they're cutting so much, why is the debt still skyrocketing? Why do we still have to have these multi-billion-dollar spending packages passed if things are being reined in, right? So we're being fed a line of BS, folks. And it's not just me saying that. Even Elon is out there calling it out. He keeps dissing this administration's budget here. And look at this here. This is not Apple, Tesla, or even NVIDIA. It's the U.S. national debt. Look at that. It's almost going to be straight up and down parabolic here pretty soon. But what else was put out here? I was reading some of this earlier. Is this the right article? He's also trashing, Elon's out there trashing this bill, which they call the beautiful bill, which is, I said the day it came out, it's not a beautiful bill, folks. It's an ugly bill, and it's a lot of debt and a lot of spending for sure. But look at this, folks. After all these years, they're finally questioning the inflation data. And this is the Wall Street Journal, right? Usually major publications like this don't really talk about this stuff. I've been talking about it, how manipulated the numbers are, but now they're coming out and saying economists raise questions about the quality of U.S. inflation data. Department of Labor Department says staffing shortages reduced its ability to conduct its massive monthly surveys. So these job cuts now are having people questioning the data and the legitimacy of the data. Of course, we know the data is fried, folks. It's cooked. They're cooking the books, so to speak. The real numbers are way worse than we're being actually told. Look at the unemployment rate. If you took all the people out of the labor force, which is 100+ million, it would be 20, 30, 40%. Nobody knows exactly, but it would be an enormous number with the real unemployment rate. And let's just go ahead and take a look at it here. The number of people not in the labor force. Try to zoom in a little bit here. What do we have here? We've got, is it over 100 million? All the way to the right here. Yeah, 102 million. A little over 102 million, folks. And it hasn't recovered from the health crisis spike that we saw. Number of people not in the labor force spiked up, went back down a little bit, but now it's spiking up again. Look at that. So we never actually recovered. We were told there was this economic recovery because going into 2020, it was about 95 million not in the labor force, folks. So, and these are working age people. This doesn't count people getting of age to retire. This is working age people that can't find work. So after a long enough period, they don't even count them as unemployed anymore, folks. That's how much of a scam it is. I mean, pretty much every economic number that we're told is pretty much some sort of off number, phony number, manipulated number. And moving on here, folks, more freebies coming to an end. We know about the Southwest Airlines, no more free checked baggage. Well, look how much airlines made now in 2024 off of these fees. Look at this. U.S. Airlines made over $7.2 billion in checked bag fees in 2024. So another example, folks, greedflation. We're told that costs are higher, so these businesses, these companies need to raise prices, but they're raising prices way more than they actually need to, and that's why we're seeing these profits and these fees raking in record profits, folks. The banks as well, record profits off these fees, including late fees, raising the fees on being delinquent or 30 days late or past due. Now you have to pay for every bag you take on an airplane, folks. So corporate America is profiting off of inflation, right? So, but if people are willing to pay, then who's to say that they're wrong? Who's to say that you're wrong for raising your price if somebody's willing to pay that, right? So if you had a car sitting on your driveway, somebody came and said, I'm going to pay you $20,000 for that car. I really want that car. But you know it's only worth $5,000. It's got a lot of miles. It's got a lot of mechanical problems. Are you going to turn down the $20,000? Somebody really wants it. They just love the model, and maybe it's got sentimental value to them. Are you going to say, no, it's only worth $5,000? I don't want to take $20,000. Of course, you're a business. You're gonna take the money. Same thing. If people are willing to pay, then businesses are going to charge more. The only way to stop this, folks, is stop spending. Have some discipline in your spending, but people don't, and people just have the magic plastic. They can swipe it, they can buy it, they can borrow, spend, and pretend that everything's fine. So therefore, they're going to keep charging you more. Things that used to be free are not going to be free, like the baggage. They're not. They're going to be shrinkflation. You're going to get less and pay more, folks. That's just how it goes. All right, people, we're going to wrap it up. What do you think about the eviction protest? This guy lived basically free for years. Now he's building a treehouse to protest. Some people, I'm telling you. What do you think about the decline in economic activity? Prices still going up, debt going up. Elon's out there basically going against the administration now because too much spending. Remember, we were being told that spending was going to be cut, and it's not happening, folks. It's been one big line of what's the word we're looking for here? Fool. I mean, we were fooled. I mean, I wasn't fooled, but a lot of people were fooled. They bought into the economy is going to get better, and for most people, it's just getting worse. But the top 10, 20% doing better than ever. As always, the wealth transfer continues. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts about any of this. And come back here next time for more news. As always, keep stacking. Peace. Big love. Bye for now.